Hello everyone and welcome to yet another deck profile, and today we're gonna be looking at the winning deck of the EUIC, which is the Klawf Terapagos. So for our Pokemon we have two Terapagos EXs, we have two Brute Bonnets to activate the poison mechanic, we have two Budew to item lock our opponent, we have two Lumineon V to search out our supporters from the deck. As one of our main attackers we also have Klawf. We have one Squawkabilly EX to reset our hand in the first turn. We have one Latias EX for the free retreat. We have one Fezandipiti as the draw engine. We have one Oranguru V which helps us find the tools from our deck. We have one Radiant Hisuian Sneasler to ramp up more damage with poison, and for the very same reason we have the Pecharunt. We also have one Munkidori to move damage from ourselves to our opponents. For our supporters we have 3 Boss's Orders. We have 2 Professor's Research to reset our hand. We have 2 Arven to search for the item and the tool from our deck. We have 2 Iono for disruption. We have 1 Colress's Tenacity to get the double turbos from the deck. We have 1 Kieran to either switch or deal more damage to the opponent. And we have 1 Carmine to reset our hand in the first turn. So for our items we have 4 Nest Ball to search out our basics. We have 4 switch cards so we can pivot our Pokemon on the bench and active. We have 3 Ultra Ball to search out cards such as Lumineon V. We have 2 Heavy Ball to get Pokemon from our prizes. We have 2 Night Stretcher to get Pokemon from the discard. And we have 1 Precious Trolley to build up our bench. As our Pokemon tools we have 3 Ancient Booster Energy Capsules. We have 3 Binding Mochis to deal more damage once we're poisoned. And we have 2 Forest Sealstone. So for our stadiums we have 3 Area 0 Underdepths to make our bench a lot bigger. And for our energies we have 4 double turbo energies, so we can attack with things such as Klawf and Terapagos. And we have 1 darkness energy to activate our Munkidori. So, about this deck, this is a deck that actually wants to go first, which is quite unusual right now, because most of the decks actually prefer going second to get either the first attack if they're turbo decks, or to get the TM Evo in play as fast as possible, or item lock or anything. But this one actually prefers going first, because if you go first, then on your second turn you can already use the Terapagos' attack. You don't mind going second because you can still item lock them and make a lot of fun stuff from there on out. But another thing why this deck prefers going first is usually when you sit down with your opponent going in blind. If you play, I don't know, I guess Guardi, you put down a 1 Lonely Rals in the beginning and see what happens during your opponent's first turn, and then you start going off whatever you're doing. The beauty of this deck is that it actually, if that happens, that you go up against an evolving deck, something that evolves from 80 or less HP basics, that is so good, because if they open with 1 Lonely Ralts or 1 Lonely Drippy, you can pull off a round where you poison them and deal 80 poison damage on their active Pokemon, so you have basically a free game 1 if that happens. So that's the utmost beauty of this deck. I actually played it last weekend in Austria, and I managed to pull that off once only, unfortunately, but it's really cool when that happens. And even if you don't pull it off, if they open with, I don't know, 2 of their Drippies and that's it, you knock out 1 and they're only left with 1 on the board, which is still far from great for them. If they don't get anything on the board, you just do the same thing again, and you won. So that's so cool about this deck. And let's talk a little bit about the matchups now. So it is, like I said, great into evolving decks, especially in a best of one setting or in game one out of best of three, because they don't expect being donked before they even get a chance to start playing. So that's the utmost beauty of it. It's actually pretty good against decks like Snorlax Stall as well, because Snorlax is weak to fighting, which means you can knock out their Snorlaxes with the Klawf, and you also have 4 switch cards, and 1 Kieran, which can switch out your Pokemon in a manner of playing 1 card. So that's another beauty of this deck, that you can just pivot around decks like Snorlax, which are trying to stall you and deck you out. So that's very nice, and it's also pretty good against Miraidon. Once again, Klawf hitting for weakness is insanely good. And also because of poison damage, you can also one-hit knock out their Pikachu. You hit them with, I don't know, you poison them, you hit them with, I don't know, Terapagos, it doesn't really matter. Their ability pops up and it's like, no, I'm not knocked out yet, I still have 10 HP remaining, and then poison kicks in and says, ha, no, you're still knocked out. So that's another beautiful thing about this deck. However, there are some matchups that are not at all great for this deck, and one of them is the Ancient Box. Because of their Ancient Booster energy capsules, they can actually recover from poison or not get poisoned at all, and that is a big pain for us, especially since Ancient Boxes are decks that are just single prizers, which is a bit difficult to maneuver around. It's still not that heavily unfavored for us, but it is a very difficult matchup. And another very difficult matchup is Gardevoir. If you don't pull off the turn 1 donk with the poison damage, if they get the setup, it's very, very difficult to win. If they don't, it's very easy. When I said I played in Austria, I actually played against 3 of the Gardevoir decks, won 1, lost 2, just because another thing about this deck is that it's very heavy on the sequencing part, and I don't have a lot of experience with it. Well, didn't have, now I'm grinding it on the ladder, and the biggest thing that can really kill your game is yourself. If you miss sequence in this deck, it will punish you so heavily. While on the other decks, it might not be such a big of a deal. In this one, definitely, you can ruin your game yourselves and the opponent can just play whatever they want. So yeah, that's all for this deck. So thanks so much for watching, you guys, and catch you next time.